What's going on, chat? Welcome back to our little live stream. This is a part of our daily live streams, streaming every single day on the weekdays and on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. So, welcome back. Ever since we streamed yesterday, there really hasn't been too much news, to be honest. This week has been a little bit dead, unfortunately, but there's a couple things that I just wanted to talk about and point out, and after we'll get into a little bit of a tier list again for today. Um, Bear with me one second, fellas. Just set that up. Set this up. Set that goal quickly, and okay. I guess I'll give a couple more seconds for some people to hop into stream before we get into it. But yeah, okay. All right, so welcome to the stream, everybody. As I said, today there really wasn't too much news. This week as a whole has been a little bit dead. I know usually we like to talk about Fight Week, which it is Fight Week this week for UFC Vegas 108, I believe, in the Apex. But the card itself is not super exciting. I actually think there's some fights on the card that could be good, but but the card itself is not something that's going to get a lot of conversation or get people excited, to say the least. So that's kind of where we're at this point. In terms of news, though, there is one thing that I wanted to touch upon. So Max Holloway says he's probably not going to fight in 2025 due to an injured hand. So that's something to think about. I don't know how much it really matters in the grand scheme of things. It already is August, and Max didn't fight all that long ago. So him not fighting for the rest of the year is kind of whatever. But if there's any matchmaking that fans wanted to do or the UFC would want to do between Max and Dan Hooker potentially, or Max and Charles Oliveira, there were some rumors about those two fighting, Max and Charles Oliveira fighting in December. Or even possibly in November. So I guess this kind of shuts all those down, and we'll see what's next for Max. We'll see what's next for Dan Hooker. We'll see what's next for Charles. There definitely are a lot of matchups at 155 that the UFC could put together. So I guess we got some answers, at least with Max Holloway. So we'll see. Most likely, I'm assuming what they're going to do is maybe they'll do a Charles versus Dan Hooker in December or November, maybe something like that. I could see possibly happening in the winner of that fight. If it's Dan Hooker, I guess maybe he would get a title shot, but we'll see. A lot of moving parts at 155. There's just so many guys, in my opinion, that could earn a title shot relatively soon. Right now, or with one more fight, just looking at the weight class, obviously Topuria is a champ right now. I talked about this a lot, but I think Topuria is most likely going to fight only once, one more time at lightweight, and then move up to welterweight, hopefully to fight Islam Makhachev. So at this point, let's just say he fights Arman Tsarukyan next. I know a lot of people are saying that he's ducking Arman, which may be true, but at the end of the day, I think if there was enough momentum for an Arman fight between him and Ilya, I think I kind of feel like Ilya would accept it at the end, but who knows? But let's just say, for the sake of example, that it's Ilya versus Arman next. For other guys, you could do Max versus Charles, as I mentioned. You can do Dan Hooker versus Patty Pimlet. Even that's a different one than we've been hearing, but that could potentially happen. John, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. So yeah, I would say there's like Arman, Max, Charles, Gaethje, Hooker, and Patty. I would say all those guys are probably one fight away from a title shot. So maybe not Charles. He's probably not one fight away, but if Ilya's not there, he's probably one or two fights away from a title shot. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of contenders at lightweight. Even though Dustin Poirier obviously retired, there's still a lot that could potentially be done. Rufy versus BSD confirmed. Yes, sir. Yes, it is. That's going to be a really fun fight. I'm definitely excited about that one. It's going to be the co-main event for UFC Paris. That card's going to be good. It's going to be fun. We'll see how they fill out the rest of the card, but the top two fights are going to be fun. It's going to be France versus the Fighting Nerds, with the main event being Imavov and what's his face? Imavov and Caio Bahalio, and the co-main event being Rufy and BSD. So that's going to be fun. Who do you guys think is going to win the Roofy BSD matchup? I'm assuming most guys are going to lean with Roofy, which I think I probably will as well. I think stylistically, it's not a bad matchup for Roofy, as BSD is very very aggressive, and he could potentially run into a counter shot of Roofy, and guys like Connor back in his prime, that karate style, and even Roofy right now. So there's some other guys in the UFC right now that have that sort of karate style. Usually they want guys to be very aggressive and come at them, because then they'll be able to leave openings, and these type of strikers, these level of strikers like Roofy is, will be able to find a beautiful counter right and potentially find a knockout. But we'll see. We will see. Um, these fight nights are better than pay-per-views. Yeah, honestly, like this year, by the way, MB, welcome to the stream. But honestly, this year it kind of is. For this upcoming pay-per-view, I actually think it's pretty good. 319, I believe it is. But for some of the other pay-per-views, I do kind of agree with you. They haven't been amazing this year, to be honest, to say the least. And we have some of these fight night cards that are actually like really good. They're in arenas. They're pretty stacked from top to bottom. Even the prelims are solid on some of these cards. And they turn out to be fun as well. I think probably in part though is because for pay-per-views we kind of have a higher expectation. We're paying money, if you are doing that for these pay-per-view cards. So if they're not stacked, if the main card's not great, if the main event's not great, if the card itself isn't that great in terms of the prelims, there definitely is that sense of disappointment after a card like that. But for a fight night, because it's free, there's lower expectations, and I don't know. But also, outside of the expectations, they are definitely delivering some of these cards. Kid Low, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Fraud check, fun coming for Rosas. Is that confirmed, by the way? I heard some rumors. I'm assuming it is. That's an interesting fight, though. I could see that, though. Fabron has been taking some of these younger guys out. We'll see how he's able to deal with the wrestling of Rosas, but we've seen guys stop Rosas before, stop his wrestling before, so it'll be interesting. I'm also not that high on Rosas personally, so I wouldn't be shocked if he got fraud checked, or or if he just lost a close fight to Fabron. But Rob Font, I know it's Sean O'Malley thing. But anyways, I wouldn't be shocked if he lost the fight to him. But we'll see. I wonder what the odds are going to be. I'm assuming Rosas will be a decent favorite. If BSC just grapples Rufies, I agree. I agree. I know a lot. I don't know what the odds are. I don't think they're out at this point, but I know a lot of people are going to side with Rufy, and I think that's fair. I think Rufy should be the favorite going into this fight, but at the same time, listen, I've always been high on BSD. I even have a video talking about BSD potentially becoming a legitimate contender again. So I'm a fan of BSD. I think he's very good. His wrestling is very very good. He's ridiculously physical, very aggressive on the feet. He's obviously not that technical, but he hits pretty hard. He kicks effectively, and his pressure is very very good. And in that Dustin Poirier fight, everybody remembers the knockout, but in that first round, BSD was able to take down Dustin a million times, control him, get relatively close to a few submissions in that fight. So I do personally think BSD is a good fighter, and if he's able to pressure Rufy, stay a little bit safe on the feet, shoot in for takedowns, and be successful with them, who knows? He could win. He could tire out Rufy. We have seen Rufy tire out a little bit before, and we have seen Rufy stop takedowns in his career, so he's passed that test thus far, but he's never went up against a grappler the level of BSD. So that'll be interesting as well. But as I said, if I had to predict at this point, I would lean towards Rufy, but definitely don't count out BSD. I think the odds probably should be relatively close, and if they're not, maybe some pretty good value for BSD. But we will see. But obviously, I'm a pretty big BSD fan, so I might be a little bit biased. I'm also a Rufy fan as well, but yeah, BSD is he's really good. So that card is definitely going to be pretty fun, pretty good. We'll see what happens on that one. I just want to check out the rest of the card if it is out. Yeah, so there's some other fights announced for that Paris card. Fakhretdinov versus Gustafsson. That one is just going to be not too much technique in that fight. It's just going to be raw power and aggression. So that fight is probably going to be fun. Marcin Tarbora versus Deleha. uh, Tybor is whatever. Um, let's see. Is there any other notable fights? Paul Craig versus Bukauskas. Probably a Bukauskas victory, I would assume, but you can never count out Paul Craig. It'll be interesting, I would assume. Um, Fernandez versus Faraz Ziam. I was never high on Ziam personally, but in his last fight, he did put on a pretty good performance, and he did surprise me. So we'll see what Ziam's able to do here against Fernandez. I'm assuming he'll probably get a victory, to be honest. And then we have William Gomes fighting again. The problem with Gomes is I think he's actually a pretty good fighter, but he's just a little bit um, uh, kind of like usually on the defense, and he's not that explosive or powerful. So that's the only problem I have with Gomez. But in terms of his fighting style or his fighting ability, it's certainly there. He's definitely a very technical fighter. Um, what's up, white boy? What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. What's up? What's going on? What's going on? Um, but but yeah, so that's kind of what we have for the Paris card. It should be interesting, and that card is September 7th. So definitely something to look forward to there. And as I said, the crowds usually in Paris are fun. So it'll be exciting. Both show. Unfortunately, after that Paris card, though, we have UFC Noche, which is like ridiculously bad. I'm actually surprised they didn't add any better fights to the card thus far. Honestly, like really the only interesting fights on the card is the main event, Gene Silva Lopez. As Kid also said before, Rosas versus Font. Um, so I guess that's interesting. It's not an amazing fight, but it's interesting. And then outside of those two, the only other interesting fight is was there one more? Actually, that honestly might be it in terms of interesting fights. It's a pretty bad card. It is going to be in an arena. We'll see how much it sells because the card itself is really not good. But you know, what are you gonna do? It's unfortunate. But outside of that one, the one thing I will say though, outside of that one card, um, UFC Noche card, the rest of the cards in terms of fight nights and in terms of pay per views are going to be really, really good in September and October and in the fall in general. So there's definitely a lot of fun fights to look forward to. Dominic Reyes versus Carlos Ulberg, main event of UFC Perth. That's going to be fun. The crowd there is also usually amazing. We'll see how they fill out the rest of the card. For UFC 320, Pereira, Magomed, Marab, Corey Sanhagen, Yuri, and Roundtree. Only 3 fights announced thus far in that card, but really, really fun fights, especially Yuri versus Roundtree. We'll see how the other 2 title fights go. Then we have UFC 321, Tom and Gon, Tom Aspinall versus Real Gon, Volkov, Jalton Almeida. Some other fun fights as well on that card. So definitely a lot of interesting matchups coming up pretty soon. But we shall see. Poor fighting nerds, 2 straight losses on the same night. Yeah, we'll see. I listen. I think it is kind of funny because I'm kind of like with you, but at the same time, I favor the other side a little bit. So for Imavov, I'm not a big fan of Imavov. I think if you're able to pressure him, you can start to tire him out and you can have a lot of success. I think Strickland did a really good job at doing that to Imavov. But the only problem is, oh, sorry, I actually read that the wrong way. But the only thing going into this fight against Caio Bahalio is if he is able to get this fight to the ground, which is a big if. His wrestling's not amazing on the ground. He's definitely has pretty good jiu-jitsu, but his wrestling's not amazing. So we'll see what happens. I guess the only problem with Caio Bahalio is I don't know if he's going to be able to pressure Imavov effectively, because that's really how you beat him. If Imavov's on the front foot, he's eventually going to be able to land a big shot. He does a really good job at staying relatively technical on the feet, but also the biggest thing, I've talked about this a bunch, but I think the biggest thing with Imavov on the feet is his change of pace with shots. He'll throw, shots at a certain pace, and all of a sudden he'll throw like a very quick 1-2. That's how he's able to catch Jared Cannonier and hurt him in their fight. He was able to land on a bunch of other guys as well in some of his other performances. So yeah. And then, yeah, as we talked about before, BSD and Rufy. Rufy is definitely like untested, so we'll see what happens for him. But at this point, I think if I had to say, I would favor Rufy a little bit, but I'm definitely pretty high on BSD as well. And the wrestling could certainly be an issue for him. So for Rufy, so we'll see what happens there. Kamaru, what happened with Kamaru? Did I say something before? I remember. Um, Brenner is it is. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. It definitely is. That's probably going to be the best fight on the card. It is unfortunate because a fight like that is probably deserving of being in an arena. Both of those guys, Brenner as well as Rubovich, really go for it. So it's most likely, in my opinion, I think it's probably going to be a second round KO or TKO for Rubovich. But one thing I know is the fight itself is going to be really fun. Brenner's definitely going to be pushing forward, looking for the finish, looking for big shots, looking to land a lot of big shots. Rubovich is going to do the same. Essentially, he always fights like that. Even in his loss versus Hasbarath, he did a good job at being on the front foot essentially the majority of the fight, landing big shots. And I personally even thought the Hasbarath fight versus Rubovich was the wrong decision. I don't know if I could say it was a robbery, but I thought it was the wrong decision. I thought Rubovich won the fight. But regardless, we'll see who wins against Brenner Rubovich. As I said, I definitely lean Rubovich, but the fight itself is going to be fun, and I think it's going to be a war and probably a second round knockout for Rubovich. Imavov is a lock. Yeah, we'll see. I could see him winning for sure. I definitely would favor him, but we'll see what happens. Rebetsky, Duncan is sick as well. Blood is guaranteed. Rebecca's guaranteed. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll definitely be fun as well. Both guys honestly push a pretty high pace, more so Rebetsky than Duncan, but both guys definitely push a relatively high pace. And we've seen Rebetsky gas out before, so we'll see how he's able to hold up in this one. But I'm assuming both of these guys are going to land big shots. It's going to be a very high paced, high action sort of fight, and we'll see who's going to be able to get the victory in the end. We'll see if Chris Duncan can get. I think it's his third or is it fourth guillotine in a row. So we'll see if he's able to pull it off. But I would assume Rebetsky's going to win the fight, though. But we shall see. Let's see what the betting odds are for that fight and for some other fights this weekend. What do we got here? So for Brenner and Ribovich is a minus 265. Definitely a decent premium, but honestly, I think he should be a bigger favorite. I'm very confident Ribovich is going to win this weekend. And then for Duncan, Rebetsky's a minus 220 favorite. So decent premium as well on that fight. So we'll see. Maybe decent value on either one of those guys, to be honest. So we shall see. 305, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Fanatics. Wow. That sucks. That sucks, man. Man, I've seen that a couple of times. Not anytime recent, but I have seen it before where the odds were flipped on a certain bet. I think it was an offshore book. I don't remember where it was, but I saw it once before that the odds literally made no sense. Yeah, but usually even if you take it, either they limit you where you can only put like a certain amount of money on it, like $10 or something like that, or they just cancel your bets after you place it. So, kind of sucks because if you see like odd flips like that, you're getting insanely good value. And if you really wanted to, you can take both sides once they adjust it, or you can just take it on a different bookie. But usually they just cancel your bets, unfortunately. So yeah, it kind of sucks. I think maybe live against Aspinall. We'll see. I mean, listen, if Gon can stop takedowns, he will be live against Aspinall. I just personally think the fight's going to be a similar fight to John Jones versus Cyril Gon. I just think Tom's going to take him down within the first 2 rounds and find a submission. I just think the gap between the two on the ground is significant. And yes, I mean, that fight between John and Gon was a little bit ago at this point. So Gon certainly is athletic for one, which does help. Making improvements in the grappling and takedown defense and all that. And also it has been some time, as I said, between that fight and between when he's going to fight Tom Aspinall. But I just feel like the gap is too big to cover in that short period of time. So we'll see what happens. If Gon could stop takedowns, then maybe he can have success on the feet. He is very technical and he is very athletic, very fast. It's decently hard, I guess. Not that hard, but decently hard. So he could give trouble to Tom on the feet. I just think Tom has such a big advantage on the ground that he'll just find a takedown and submit him. Park by finish is like plus 700. That's all like it does. Yeah, that's interesting. I personally think Taira is going to find the finish, but I've been high on Taira before, and he lost to Brennan Royval. Although obviously Brennan Royval is a much better fighter than Park. Well, we'll see. I mean, maybe Park is that level, but he's just very early on into his career. Um, Taira by submission is plus 165. Yeah, I don't know. You might be onto something with plus 700 for somebody who gets a lot of finishes. The only thing I will say though is this is like a huge step up in competition for Park for one, and for two, it is flyweight, and I know he gets a lot of finishes, and honestly, so does Tyra, but it is flyweight. So those usually flyweight fighters don't get finishes, but just some things to think about. Um, John says, "Yeah, I think Gon could be as small." Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not impossible. I don't want to say it's impossible. I just do lean with Tom, uh, personally. Um, Ngannou, even with no knees, is more dangerous than anyone else. Is that true? Yeah, maybe. Curtis Blades, I think, is dangerous. I know I might get hate for saying this. I think Curtis Blades is a good fighter. It's just his IQ is not there. And I think we kind of saw that. Gunn also recovered from the tie down. Yeah, yeah. But he did recover for one, yes, but he also did get caught on the feet. But outside of that one punch that Ty landed, for the most part, Gon dominated that fight and found the finish later on against a guy with an amazing chin. So that performance for Gon was definitely a really good one. And Gon, that's true. That is true. It just, I don't know. I guess the one question that I would have with Tom Aspinall personally is how good is his gas tank? So if he's able to take down Gon in the first round and the second round, and Gon's jujitsu is good enough to avoid submissions and he survives, going into that third round or fourth round or fifth round, how does Tom Aspinall look at that point? We really just have never seen it. He's been so dominant throughout his career, just finishing literally everybody, that we haven't seen it. I'm not saying Tom has bad cardio or whatever. Maybe it is good cardio, but we just haven't seen it. So if Gon is able to stop takedowns or at the very least survive on the ground for the first 2 rounds or maybe even first 3 rounds, maybe he'll be a little bit more live going late against Tom. But we shall see. I watch Tyra vs. Revival like once a month. Wow. Wow. Yeah, it was a good fight. It was definitely a good fight. Um I believe honestly, I haven't watched it in a while, so I don't remember exactly how it went. I guess you would know better than me. But what early on, Tyra got a takedown, had Royval's back. I think he like kind of dominated in the first round, but as the fight was progressing, Royval started to stop takedowns and started to utilize his boxing, a lot of jabs and left straights, and he was landing a lot on Tyra. I think that's kind of how the fight went, but I haven't watched it in a little bit, so I don't remember exactly. We shall see. Calero says and Rebecca are my best bets for tomorrow. Parlayed or just singles. Yeah, those are not bad. I do think Rebetsky's gonna win. And then yeah, Rosa probably will win as well. Both honestly, both like the same value. Rebetsky minus 220, Rosa minus 210. Parlay them up, you get plus 114. Yeah, I mean that's not bad. But for me personally, I think my most confident play or pick on the card is Rubich, but it's minus 265, so you can't really take that unless you parlay it up. But yeah, I guess it's a good segue. I'll show you guys my best bets for this weekend. So for the most part, as you can see here, most of these fights are heavy favorites one way or the other. And honestly, I agree with a lot of the heavy favorites. So I'm probably not going to take many plays tomorrow if I do take any. But a couple of plays that I kind of like is maybe you can take a shot on Nathan Fletcher versus Nakamura. I do think Nakamura is going to win the fight, but Nathan Fletcher's a solid fighter and maybe at plus 310. There's value there. So maybe you could take a shot on that. The other fight that I like is actually I guess that's it for for money lines. Honestly, that's it. All these guys are such heavy favorites. I have no confidence at all in Neil Magny. I think he's going to lose. So if I had to take props though, this is the one thing that I did like. I do like Rubetsky, or sorry, not Rubetsky, Ribovich round 2 KO at plus 700. I think that's decent value. And then the other thing that I like, total rounds under 2.5 rounds at essentially plus 100, minus 102. So those are the two plays that I like in terms of props, and they're actually both on the same fight. But outside of that, honestly, I really don't see much other value on the card. I know Kid was saying before that he likes the value on Park by Finish, which where is it? Oh, here I got plus 450. You got a great number if you got plus 700. Here is plus 450. So yeah, if you get plus 700, definitely take it. You got great value on that. Um, but yeah, I know he was saying he likes this play, which probably is not a bad one. I think at plus 450, it's not amazing personally. But at 700, maybe it's not a bad play. Total rounds under 3.5 minus 128. Honestly, I don't love it. It is a flyweight fight at the end of the day, and getting minus money on the under, I don't love it. Honestly, I don't see a lot of plays that I love. Um, Bahayo's KO plus 120 easy. Yeah, he'll probably find the KO most likely. Usually, like personally, I don't love taking guys by finish or by a TKO or by submission at like essentially even money. Plus 120 is essentially even money. But in this fight, I do think it is very likely that he does find a KO eventually. So yeah, I mean, you could put a decent amount on this maybe if you're very confident in it. Plus 120, and then rounds maybe you take 1 and 2. On it, like it's not amazing, but it's not bad. Maybe you take 1 and 2. You sprinkle rounds 1 and 2, and you put a decent amount on him just by KO, so you'll be able to cash out a little bit. I don't know. Honestly, for the most part, I don't see a ton of value on this card. But if you had to, those are a couple of plays that I don't mind. Just out of curiosity, what is Chris Duncan by submission? Plus 950 for him to get the guillotine for the third fight in a row. maybe sprinkle that. Total rounds on this one. Yeah, I don't love that actually. I don't love that. Yeah, I don't know. As I said, honestly, not an amazing card betting wise, but there's a couple solid ones, I guess. There's a couple solid ones. But we shall see. In terms of the fights itself, though, I know it's an Apex card, but I think there's definitely exciting fights on the card, as we kind of talked about. The main event, I think, will be fun. Co-main event will be fun. Rubetsky, Duncan, Brenner versus Ribovich will be fun. Vallejos versus Danny Silva will be fun. Nakamura versus Fletcher, I think that could be interesting. Tresean Gore is usually fun. I know Tresean missed weight by like 3 pounds or something, 3 or 4 pounds. So that's interesting. But that should be fun. Pulayev, probably be a relatively fun fight. Bashi's on the card, so that'll be interesting. And yeah, there's a couple other interesting ones as well, I guess. So, Gorofondo, yeah. Let's see. Yeah. Wait, what do you mean, Gorofondo? Gore missed the weight. Oh, who do I think is going to win? I'm assuming you're saying. Probably Vieira, I would assume. Tresean Gore does decent stuff. It's just he's a little bit behind, I feel like, in a lot of his fights. So I would go with Vieira personally. And yeah, on top of that, Gore did miss weight. What is like 3.5 pounds or whatever it was. So you don't love to see that. But honestly, it was a pretty big miss. Sometimes you see this where if guys or girls miss weight by a lot, sometimes it's just because they stop cutting weight. And actually, in those scenarios, they would have the advantage. But 3.5 pound miss, honestly, decently sized miss, but probably he was trying to cut weight. He just couldn't get those extra pounds off. So yeah, I would definitely lean with Vieira. But yeah, we'll see how the card plays out. I talk about this a lot, but I kind of feel that usually when you have cards like this that are in the Apex, very low expectations, but some fights that could be fun, usually they turn out to be pretty fun. So I'm kind of hoping that we see that this weekend. I think there's a good chance that we do see that tomorrow, but we'll see. What time does the card start, by the way? Is it early card, I'm assuming. Prelims. Start at 6? Okay, not that early. So prelim start at 6, main card starts at 9. Honestly, normal time for, Apex card. Morales really wants the Leon fight. He called him out on Insta. Yeah, I would like to see that fight. I would like to see it. Um, I'm probably higher on Morales than some other guys. I just think personally, I think he has a real chance to be a champion one day. At that division, just because he's so much bigger than everyone else. He's not the most technical guy in the world. He's definitely not, but he hits ridiculously hard. He's taller and longer than everybody else, and we've seen it a couple times when he's gotten taken down. For the most part, he stops takedowns very well, but in the couple occasions where he does get taken down, he gets right back up. He's just so much bigger, stronger, and hits a lot harder than essentially everybody else at that weight class. He's at number 7 now. Him fighting Leon, who's at number 4, I think makes sense. Morales is coming off a victory in his last fight. There's a couple guys that I think make sense for Morales, but we shall see. We shall see. A good matchmaking card. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true. Um, but yeah, we'll see. Honestly, I do kind of feel like Leon is the logical step for Morales. Shafkat, I think, is either going to fight for the belt next, or he's going to fight like Bilal, or maybe fight probably just Bilal. Actually, for Shafkat, it's either going to be Bilal or the belt. For Sean Brady, it's going to be I don't know, who could Sean Brady fight. Usman. I think he called out Shafkat, but I don't think that's super likely to happen personally. Um, For Leon, I don't know. I don't even know who Leon fights. Probably, as I said, the only one that makes sense is him versus Morales. He's coming off a loss. Morales is coming off a win. For Usman, you could do Usman versus Bilal, or you can do Usman versus I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, matchmaking at the welterweight division is kind of hard. Um, but we'll see. We'll see what kind of matchups they have coming for these guys. Coming up soon. Um, I can't believe I made some of these words. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I actually said this before. I do agree. I know a lot of people are saying that Taporia is stalking Armin. And listen, I'm sure Taporia would prefer not to fight Armin. I actually do believe that just because I talked about this a lot. But I think for Taporia, what he wants to do at this point is just be great. And the way that he perceives him to be able to accomplish that is beat the biggest names. And win 3 belts. That's what he wants to do. He already was the champion at 145, current champ at 155, and obviously he wants to get one more win at this weight class, move up to 170, fight Islam, knock Islam out if he could, which is a big if. But I think that's what he wants to do. And then after that, I think he'll retire. Honestly, I don't think he's going to fight that much longer. So when you look at the 3 potential matchups that you can have at this point, when you look at Armin, Patty, or Gaethje, Armin is the smallest name out of those other 2 guys, and also he's the toughest fight. So I do believe Ilya would prefer not to fight Armin, but I agree with you. If it had to come to that, like if the UFC, if Dana White or whatever was like, listen, you got to fight this guy, I do believe that Taporia would fight him. So I do agree with you. What do you think about people saying that Aspinall is kind of? I don't really buy into MMA math personally. Like it helps obviously sometimes where you're able to take some things away and see how a certain guy did against another guy's striking or another guy's grappling. So it could help a little bit but for the most part, like I wouldn't personally say that Aspinall is going to be gone because he finished Volkov and Gane didn't. I don't see it like that. So I personally think Aspinall is going to be gone just because I think the grappling is so different. Um, but but just because saying that he's going to win just because he finished Volkov and Gane did, I don't really think that holds any weight personally. Um, Brady versus Gary, yeah, I don't mind that. Usman versus Bilal, I like that one. I think that makes a lot of sense actually. Both former champs and they've beef. Shafkat gets winner of Usman Bilal. Buckley versus Neal. Prates winner. So yeah, probably Prates. I would assume Prates would win that. So Prates versus Buckley. I don't mind that one. That'll be a fun fight. And then Shavkat gets winner of Usman Bilal. Yeah, I could see that. It's just the only thing that I'll say is, and listen, guys have said this before, and then they got offered a bunch of money, and then they just fought anyway. But I know Shavkat was saying that he wants his next fight to be for the belt because he already earned the title shot, and he had to pull out with an injury, but he still feels like his next fight should be for the title shot. Um, but listen, money talks, and I could see this sort of scenario happening. So yeah, pretty good matchmaking here, I would say. All fun fights, all fights that make sense. So yeah, it's not yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Volkov definitely has done a better job at implementing some grappling in his game. We saw it against, I mean, we saw it against Tai Tuivasa, which I guess is not saying that much, but still, um, he has definitely made improvements. But yeah, I would agree with you though, John. What do you think about calling people going Bilal boring? I suppose we have a couple Bilal fans in here. Listen, I personally think he is boring. I thought his JDM fight was not boring. I thought that was fun, and I thought his fight against Leon, I don't know if I would say it's fun, but I thought it was like more entertaining. And obviously, when Bilal fought Sean Brady, that was fun as well. So he definitely has had some fun fights for sure. But going back to that fight between him and Gilbert Burns, I thought that was a very boring fight. And I know Gilbert, tore his shoulder or whatever happened in the first round, but I actually think that's even more of a negative on Bilal's part because he had a guy that had one arm in front of him and he wasn't really doing anything. He was kind of just throwing like body kicks. So I thought that was a bad performance from Bilal, like not a fun performance from Bilal. And there's been some other examples as well, but not all of his fights are boring. He definitely has some fun performances. If he's able to establish his game plan, he does push a relatively high pace, and yeah, some of the Bilal fights could be fun. But I guess to the general public, they would probably see his style as a little bit boring. But to me, I think it's a case by case basis, depending on who he's fighting. That's how I see it. Yeah, he does deserve the title shot. I agree with you based on wins, but we've seen it in the past where guys got a title shot, had to pull out with an injury, and then they had to fight again before getting it next. So I think based upon that, he probably should fight again. I mean, he's been, as you said, he's been very inactive. He gets hurt all the time, it seems. It seems like after every fight, he needs to get some sort of a surgery or he has some sort of an injury. And even going into some fights, he gets hurt in training camp. Just very fragile. Like, listen, I love Shavkat. He's a great fighter, very high paced. Outside of it's kind of funny. Outside of the Ian Gary fight, all of his wins are finishes. So very fun fighter, very fun on the feet, on the ground as well. But and obviously a great fighter. But he just deals with a lot of injuries. It's not it's not his control, but um, it's just the reality. Because when we saw Charles Oliveira had to pull out when he had an injury after he earned a title shot against Islam, he had to fight again. I believe he fought twice actually after that injury. So it's definitely happened. And for Armin, I guess that's kind of another example. If he missed weight or actually got hurt, whatever the reasoning is, it seems like Armin's going to need to fight again before he gets another title shot. So I'm assuming based upon that logic and based upon what we've seen from some other guys, the UFC is going to make Shavkat fight one more time. The only way that I think they give him a title shot for his next fight is if they just think his fighting style is just very, very fun, which it is. That's the only way I think he can get it. But even then, I think he might have to fight again, to be honest. I thought his fight with Leon was entertaining. I've watched it a few times. Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. He was able to get a bunch of takedowns, pressure Leon. Leon kind of fought like he normally does, unfortunately, where it feels like he's just given up. But in that fifth round, he did a good job at reversing position, landing a bunch of big elbows. Actually, those are probably the biggest shots of his career outside of the head kick. But those are some big shots, and he was able to kind of beat up Bilal at the end there. But for the most part, Bilal dominated the fight. So yeah, it was fun, relatively entertaining. But yeah, Bishmal. But yeah, we'll see. What was I gonna do? Middleweight. Dricus and Hamzat's gonna be so fun, by the way. That's gonna be a fun fight. Definitely excited for that card, 319. It's coming up relatively soon. Um, but anyways, but without further ado, uh, I was thinking we get into a little bit of a tier list here. I think my thing is glitching out. I hope my stream's not glitching out too badly. My computer's getting a little bit hot. Um, Bryce Mitchell should fight Font next. I don't mind that, but I think Font's already supposed to fight Rosas on that card or on the Noche card. That's what I heard. So I'm assuming that's next for him. But I wouldn't mind Fabrant versus Bryce. John's nervous. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. But yeah, anyways, let's get into this tier list. So this tier list is going to be charisma tier list. Just guys that have good charisma. So first we have Alex Pereira. He doesn't speak English. All right. John says, which MMA YouTuber inspired you to start live streaming? Um, Honestly, probably MMA Guru. I know my streaming style is very different from what Guru does, but I heard him talking about in a stream or on a video or whatever it was, some sort of podcast that he was trying to live stream like a lot, very consistently, just because he really wanted to make the YouTube thing work. And obviously, he's at the point where he's at today, not just because he's streaming, also because he's funny and he makes good content. But that's kind of how that kind of inspired me to start live streaming a little bit. So yeah. That's why I'm doing it. And also, it also is really fun just talking about MMA topics with you boys. Even on a fight week like this week where there's literally nothing going on. The card this week is not that fun. There's like no news at this point. It's still fun to hop on live streams and talk with you boys, do some tier lists, talk about some fights that we want to talk about. And yeah. But yeah, so this is a charisma tier list. Rick Allen, what's going on, brother? BTC Rick. Gonna go by 2030. I don't know. What is it? It's like a little over 100 now. Let's say, I don't know, 150 maybe. I have no idea. Honestly, I have no idea. But I think it'll be higher than it is now. John and Rick, let's go. Let's go. Anyways, let's get into this tier list. So, for Pereira, I'd probably say B tier if my computer would work here. There we go. I'll probably say B tier just because he doesn't speak English. But he does have good charisma. His walkouts are tremendous. Obviously, he's a fan favorite in part due to his fighting style, but also a lot of fans find him funny. So yeah. My bad. But anyways, so Carlos Prates is next. I'll say C tier for Carlos. Obviously his fighting style is really fun, and for the most part, that's why a lot of people like him. But he does have charisma with his SIGs post fight, some of his interviews as well as press conferences. So I'd probably say C tier for him. Now for Chael Sonnen, he's an A tier for me, very high A tier. Chael has been hilarious over the years, very charismatic, and press conferences he's hilarious. And he's been doing it forever, even in fights that he's lost, fights that he's won. It doesn't really matter. He's always going to go out there and put on a funny performance in terms of his press conferences and on the mic. He's always hilarious. So high tier of A class for me, for Charles. Charles Oliveira, MB says C tier. Yeah, I could see C tier just because he doesn't speak English. So yeah, maybe C tier. But the thing is, like, he does have great aura, for being honest. Charles does. So maybe I'll throw him in B tier. His aura is good. I'll throw him in B tier. Why not? Then we have Colby Covington. Colby, in my opinion, is A tier. I know he's had a couple fumbles on the mic a couple times where when he was saying that line to Leon Edwards, he said his father was going to the 7th layer of hair. And he's had a couple other mishaps as well. But for the most part, I thought when Colby was in his prime, he was really funny. At this point, I think he's getting a little bit old. But in his prime, I thought he was pretty funny. His back and forths was with Usman, with Masvidal, with some other fighters as well. I thought Colby was pretty funny. So I have him right behind Chael Sonnen in A tier. Connor, I think this is very obvious. Connor is S tier. He kind of in my opinion, he's the most charismatic guy by far in the UFC. He's hilarious on the mic when he was in his prime. His predictions were tremendous. He became the biggest star in UFC history in part because of how charismatic he was. So yeah, I do personally see him being an S tier for me. Now Dan Hooker, this is kind of a different one than other guys. Because for Dan, like he's not like the most witty or anything on the mic, but he is very funny on the mic at the same time. So probably for Dan, it would be like high D tier or like low C tier. So maybe I'll just throw him in D. MB says D. Yeah, so I guess I'll do that. Um, but yeah. Um, then next we have Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis for me is A tier. He's different from other guys. Like he's not gonna be very witty with his when he talks on the mic, but it's just hilarious. He's a really really funny guy. If he's able to get the victory, or even if he loses, he's great on the mic. So I personally see him being an A tier. Um, but yeah, then Drickus. I would say Drickus. To be honest, I'm debating on whether or not he's ahead of Colby or behind Colby in A tier. Maybe I'll say behind Colby, just because Colby is a little more diverse with it, I guess. Um, MB says DDP S tier. Yeah, I see where you're coming from though, because it's a little bit different from Chael or a Colby or even a Connor. The way he trash talks is it's definitely a little bit different, but he really gets the guys. He obviously got to Strickland, he got to Adesanya, making them both cry. So he does a really good job at trash talking in like a different way that really messes with guys. So I yeah, I personally think I have him in A tier behind Colby and Chill. Maybe he can go ahead of Colby. But I think S tier is really just going to be for Connor. I don't think anybody else should really be in that class, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, that's where I would have him. Now, Ilya Taporia, it's interesting. I mean, his confidence is through the roof. He definitely has a lot of really good one-liners. But of course, I know there's a lot of comparisons between him and Connor, but he's not the same as Connor. Connor was kind of on another level, in my opinion. So for Ilya, I'd probably put him in A tier behind Drickus if this computer would cooperate here. There we go. So I'd probably have him in A tier behind Drickus. Obviously, his fighting style speaks for itself. But on the mic, he has definitely some pretty good one-liners. He's ridiculously confident. He has his parties before he fights. So definitely pretty good charisma for Ilya Taporia. Next, we have Gene Silva. For Gene, probably B tier, behind both Alex and Charles. Dude, my computer's messing up here. John, what's going on, brother? So yeah, for Gene, probably B tier. He's not. It's a different charisma, I guess I'll say. Kind of interesting charisma, but he is definitely very funny out there with his antics, I guess, and he's funny on the mic, and honestly, he's pretty funny when he fights as well. So probably B tier for him. For Yuri, I'll have Yuri in A tier personally. He's a very interesting guy for sure. On the mic, he's had some bangers. We showed this a while ago in a previous live stream, but uh, you know, when he was after he got a victory, I think it was after he got a victory over Jamal Hill. He was talking about how he was going to take some of his crazy friends from his village and he'll show him something, which is hilarious. So I personally think Yuri's probably an A tier behind some of these other guys that I already have here. 305, thanks for your charisma list. Let's go. Where's Bo Nickel? Probably in F tier. um, but yeah, Bo's not high. I think on this list, if I were to add Bo, like it wouldn't even make sense. Even if I put him in D tier behind like everybody else, I still think it wouldn't make sense to have him and Dan Hooker in the same tier, personally. So yeah, Bo Nickel doesn't really have much charisma. Hamzat, also kind of an interesting one as well. I'd probably say for Hamzat, like B tier maybe, in front of Charles, in front of Gene, but behind Alex. That's probably where I would have Hamzat. Honestly, not too much shit talk from Hamzat for the most part, but he kind of has his crazy energy out there. So it's definitely something that's relatively charismatic, I guess. Max Holloway, where do you think Max should go? MB says C tier. Honestly, I think I would probably agree with you. Probably C tier for Max. Not like a ton of amazing one-liners or whatever, but he's a relatively fun personality. So yeah, all Max says is we'll find out. Yeah, that is true. So yeah, honestly, probably C tier. Marab is such an interesting character. Marab is probably B tier ahead of Hamzat. I think I probably have Marab there. The only knack or dent or whatever the word is against Marab is a lot of times when he's on the mic, he like over talks, but at times he could be funny. He does have his crazy personality. So in my opinion, I probably have him in B tier. Now we have Hanato Moicano. He's got to be an A tier. Maybe like here, honestly, A tier in front of Taporia, Derek Lewis, and Yuri, but behind DDP, Colby, and Chael. On the mic, he's great. He's always funny. He talks a lot about finance, but regardless of that, he's also really funny. So Moicano has definitely had some bangers on the mic, and obviously he has his own YouTube channel, his own podcast. So he does good things. Pencil shavings, what's going on, brother? Welcome, welcome. What's the list for? It's for charisma, most charismatic fighters in the UFC. Where's Bilal? Oh, I didn't add Bilal to the list. Where would Bilal go? Do you guys think? I don't know, like C tier maybe. I don't know. I mean, he does talk trash at times. I don't know. Maybe like C tier. Um, Paulo, I think Paulo's got to go in A tier for me personally. Maybe behind Derek Lewis, ahead of Yuri, if this computer would work. There we go. Maybe I'd have him here. Maybe he even should be a little bit higher than I have him. But for Paulo, it's not really like he talks a lot of trash or anything like that because he doesn't. But Paulo is really funny out there. Obviously, his Twitter was hilarious when it was in his prime. At this point, it's still funny, but it doesn't hit the same as it did prior. But his Twitter was hilarious. When you look at some of his performances at press conferences, they were really funny. His whole build-up between him and Israel Adesanya was pretty funny. I thought his whole build-up between him and who's the other guy? Marvin Vittori was hilarious when Paula was obviously going to miss weight by a ridiculous amount, by like 30 pounds. And then Vittori's like, oh, you can't make weight or whatever he said. And then Paula's like, that is your own personal problem. And so he's hilarious. So yeah, Paulo's A tier for me. Sean O'Malley is D tier. He's got the worst charisma on the list. I know he looks like he would be charismatic, but he's really not. If you listen to this guy on the mic, he doesn't really have great trash talk at all. I honestly can't think of one good line that he had. Usually when guys trash talk him, he doesn't really have responses to them. So it's really just a look. His fighting style is fun. I'll give him that. He's got the look, I guess, and he definitely has money. But in terms of his actual skills on the mic, it's really not there at all. So he's D tier for me. MB says O'Malley D tier. Yeah, I agree. Pencil shaving says Bisping. Oh, Bisping's a good one. Bisping would probably be. Yeah, well, he would have to be A tier. I would. Yeah, I would have to think. Strickland. MB thinks Strickland's A tier. Yeah, I could see Strickland being A tier. Yeah, maybe Strickland would be like here. A tier ahead of Yuri. I apologize if there's lag on the stream. This is kind of annoying, but but yeah, Strickland I would have in A tier ahead of Yuri, but behind all the other guys in A tier. And this is kind of what my list would be for Bisping. To answer your question, Bisping would probably be um well, A tier as well. Bisping would have to be A tier. 305 says DDP. DDP is in A tier. He's right here. He's an A tier behind Chael and Colby, but ahead of Moicano, Taporia, Derek Lewis, Paulo, Strickland, and Yuri. As I said, for DDP, his trash talk or his charisma is a little bit different than some other guys, but it's very, very effective. It's very, very effective. As I said, he's made two guys back to back cry in a row, where he was able to make Izzy as well as Strickland cry. So yeah, Luke Rockhold, Luke Rockhold, uh, maybe like B tier, C tier, maybe. His whole thing with him and Bisping was hilarious. Bisping kind of 10-8'd him on the mic. It was pretty funny, but yeah, like B tier maybe for Luke. Um, but yeah, outside of that, this is kind of my list. I'm relatively happy with it. Maybe some guys are higher or lower than they should be, but I'm relatively happy with this list. What do you guys think of the list? Do you have anyone else that you would like me to tier to rank? Um, but yeah, all right, I might honestly close this tab out if there's no more, just um because it's kind of glitching on my computer here. Uh, Masvidal, Masvidal would probably go. Masvidal would go in A tier. A lot of guys in A tier, but Masvidal would probably go in A tier. Um, he's had some great lines over the years. Pretty charismatic fighter. And at a point, listen, it was really true. At a point, outside of Conor McGregor, Masvidal was the biggest star in the UFC. And even still, I mean, I know he's not in the UFC anymore, but if he theoretically were to come back, I even still think he'd be a relatively big star. So definitely very charismatic for Jorge. Honestly, like for the most part, these charismatic fighters are, they're naturally charismatic. But one thing that really helps them out in terms of their popularity is certainly their fighting styles. So obviously, a lot of the guys at the top half of the list have really fun fighting styles, which definitely does help them out. But if you have a fun fighting style and you're charismatic, like Conor McGregor was, you really take your stardom to the next level. Leon Edwards, Leon is not really charismatic at all. Like C tier probably. He's had a couple of funny lines, I guess. Probably C tier. C tier. Mumble mouth Edwards, yeah. Honestly, like the funniest line that I can remember from Leon was when he was in his press conference with Kamaru. But I don't even know if this is like charismatic. It's just like kind of funny when Usman was like, "What kind of car do you drive? What kind of car do you drive?" And he's like, "A Mercedes GLE." He's like, "What? Mercedes GLE?" And he's like, "What?" He's like, "What?" I don't know. I guess it's not that charismatic, but um, it's kind of just a funny line. Tai Tuivasa versus Jelly Roll and Pro Jelly opens at -325. I can see that. I can see that. Dude, that picture of Tai Tuivasa that came out recently was insane, bro. Dude, I almost feel bad, dude, because I remember like a month ago or a couple months ago, Ty was talking about how he gained a lot of weight and he was too heavy to even fight at heavyweight and he was trying to lose a lot of weight or whatever. And then we saw that picture come out recently of him, like what, just a couple days ago. It was insane, dude. He gained so much weight. So I don't know. Is he done in the UFC? Is he retired? Uh, he just has like a lot of weight on him. What are you, Arab? That was a good one as well. That was a good one. Um, Dober, uh, True Dober. I don't know, like C tier maybe. Maybe D tier, honestly. Um, Not that charismatic, but uh, he's fun. He has a really fun fighting style, though. Pros 340, yeah, it's insane, bro. Let me see if I could find that picture for you boys if anyone hasn't seen it. But it's like honestly, like it's like you don't expect it. He gained a lot of weight. When was this posted, bro? Let's see if I can find this thing. Um, Tai Tuivasa. Oh, there you go. Dude, look at Ty here. It's insane. That's not Ty. Ty lost a lot of weight. No, that's him. Dude, it's honestly insane. Yeah, he's got to start training and get in the gym. But he better retire. 0% chance he can make weight ever again. Yeah, honestly, me and might not. Um, but I don't know. He needs to find some sort of motivation somehow. Um, but what are you gonna do? Ken Dover beat every black fighter. He's been doing it. He's been doing it so far. They cut Martin Budiva, keep telling to. Yeah, I agree. It is weird. It is weird. And they also cut Jairzinho Rosenstrike after having a boring performance. I know he lost a fight for Sergey, but um, Rosenstrike, I believe, has a winning record with the company. I think he does, or very close. And he's been with the company forever. It's kind of weird to see him get cut. Um, but yeah, I mean, listen, this is the thinking behind the UFC. The thinking is Tai Tuivasa is a star, relative star, at least in Perth, and listen, fans do like Tai. He has a fun fighting style, and Martin Budai, doesn't really put on a lot of fun performances. So I know he's been 7-1 in the UFC. I don't agree with this. I'm just saying this is the UFC's thought process. I'm assuming Martin Budai is just not really an exciting fighter. So like, all right, we'll cut him, and for Tai, even though he's lost a bunch of times and he hasn't fought in forever, and who knows if he ever will fight, he still is considered to be a star. So that's why they're keeping it. Um, Holloway not fighting, yeah, I saw that. It kind of limits some things for the rest of this year because I know there were some rumors going around of Charles Oliveira fighting Max Holloway in December or November. I think it was December, which would have been a fun fight. But with the injury to the hand for Max Holloway, and he said he's not going to be able to fight the rest of the year, I guess we're not going to see that. There's also some rumors of Max versus Stan Hooker, which would have been fun. Both of those fights are pretty fun. I guess it kind of sucks that we're not going to get at that this year, but maybe we can see some of those fights happen next year, or maybe some of those guys will just fight somebody else. We'll see what happens for Max and who he fights next. We can't cut tie strings. Yeah, unreal. Where's Ty in the charisma list? I don't know. Where's Ty? Like B tier? He's pretty funny. He doesn't have like great one-liners, but he's pretty funny. Maybe B tier. Imagine a fighter can argue. Fighter can argue. Wait, what? Imagine if a fighter can argue, they let do. What do you mean? Budai heavyweight, barely any finishes. What decisions? 72-year-old Orlovsky. Yeah, I mean, listen, his performances aren't the best. So it's weird to see a guy get cut with a 7-1 record, but I guess the UFC is a business at the end of the day. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Frickin' Budai. Frickin' Budai. You think he's just gonna sign with the PFL? He's probably just gonna sign with the PFL and get a couple more wins. There's a lot of guys, UFC heavyweights that got cut that just immediately go to the PFL. The problem is though, a lot of these guys getting cut by the UFC are getting cut either because they're not good or because they're not exciting. And the PFL is kind of just getting those guys, and the level of competition is not that high, or at least that fun in the PFL. So it's unfortunate. Imagine if a fighter can argue, they let do from the company. Can argue, they let. Am I just like dumb, or what's going on here? Imagine if a fighter can argue, they let do from the company. Unless you're saying, imagine if a fighter can argue what the company does. I'm assuming. I don't know. Oh, you mean I think? All right, I think this is what you're saying. Imagine if a fighter can argue if they're allowed to stay in the company. Like if they're about to cut them, they can argue if they can stay. I don't know. Help me out, chat. What is our boy Pencil Shavings trying to say here? Unless I'm just dumb, which is possible. Great statement from Pencil Shaving. But yeah. Yes. Oh, if they can argue that whether or not they can stay in the company, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting. I don't know how much say they would have though at that point, just because if the UFC decides they want to cut somebody, I don't know, like what could you argue? What could you possibly say to change their mind? If they already made up their mind, they kind of already made up their mind. But it would be interesting. It would add a wrinkle into it. But listen, if you're a good fighter, or if you have a good record like Budai does, or maybe some other UFC fighters, then I don't know. Just go to a different organization and have success. It's not going to be the UFC. You're not going to be as big of a name, obviously, or have the opportunity to have as big of a name. But there's definitely some guys that went to other organizations and built a decent name for themselves and made some decent money. So maybe I'm assuming Budai will just go to the PFL. We'll see if he's able to have success there. Um, but we'll see. Can't spell, man. All good pencil shavings. Um, have you ever seen Taya's We Are Farmers? Oh, that was an amazing speech. Very, very good. And yes, I have seen that. Tremendous. Now we just have Teddy Atlas on the post shows sometimes. He does give some decent analyst or decent input sometimes for some of these fights. Yeah, that speech was legendary though. Good on Teddy. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, this is the fight of the year. We got a new fight announcement: Volter Walker versus Ryan Spann for UFC Rio. Honestly, dude, I think Volter Walker's getting a heel hook here. I honestly think it's gonna happen. Ryan Spann is a perfect matchup for Volter Walker to get a heel hook on. I really think that. I really think he's gonna get it. What would that be, like his fourth heel hook in a row or third? I think it might be his fourth if he gets it over Spann. Um, so we'll see. And honestly, for Volter though, in all seriousness, decent next step for him. Ryan Spann is at this point, I think he's a little bit washed in my opinion, but he did have a good performance in his last one. Um, but he's just a little bit wild at this point, but he does have power. So we'll see how it goes. I personally think Volter Walker by heel hook, but we shall see. Poirier becoming commentator. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I saw that. That is pretty cool. I think it's honestly a logical next step for him. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how good he does. Obviously, we have no idea how good he's gonna do, and there's gonna be a little bit of a transition period. But yeah, it'll be cool. Honestly, I think most of the guys at the UFC, I know people complain about the commentary a lot of the time, but in my opinion, I think a lot of the guys that transition from fighting into commentary have been solid. And I do think Dustin Poirier could be another one of those guys. So we'll see how he does at the commentary booth and when he starts, or what shows they put him on initially. I'm assuming they're probably going to put him on like fight night cards, Apex cards, stuff like that in the beginning. See how good he is and see what the fans think about him, and then they'll slowly start to move him up going forward from there. But definitely exciting. What's the most unpopular? What is more unpopular? I would probably say Karate Combat. It's more popular in the US than it is anywhere else, but I think worldwide, One Championship does have a pretty good thing going over there in China. So I would consider it to be more popular. But I guess it does differ for which audience you're talking about. If you're talking about like US based audience, Karate Combat is probably more popular. But in general, probably One Championship is more popular than Karate Combat is. Yeah, I know that One Championship, I believe they got rid of MMA altogether. I was always kind of a fan of One Championship because I thought they put on some pretty fun performances, especially when DJ was there. And I thought, the fans there were pretty good. The production was pretty good. And I personally liked what they were doing over in One Championship, but I guess they just weren't making enough money doing MMA, which is fair. I mean, the UFC is just so much bigger than everybody else, so they decided to disband it. But if it were up to me, if it's the UFC at the top, and if there was one or the other organization in MMA, and if it was either PFL or One Championship, I'd pick One Championship every single time. I'm really not a fan of the PFL at all. Listen, the guys they have on the roster, obviously it's not the highest skilled roster in the world, but they have some fun fighters. I just feel they blow it like every time I watch. Actually, there's a PFL event going on right now. At least I think there is. But I just feel like their production is terrible. Their commentators are really not good. A lot of their fights turn out to be pretty boring. And I mean, the fight aspect is not something the PFL can really control, but the production, their decisions, their commentary are things that they can control. And I think all those things are terrible. I mean, them consistently deciding to do this whole tournament thing, I think is kind of silly, in my opinion. Maybe some people like it, but I think the tournament is not really great for MMA. But that's enough ranting on the PFL. Mini Ngannou fighting again. No, probably not. Probably not. Well, no, he might box again, maybe. But listen, I really don't think the PFL would be able to uh to pay him. So yeah, I don't know. Probably not the PFL. One championship division. Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. It is unfortunate, but yeah, I had to disband it. One is filled with cheaters, sadly. To run organization. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't know how they're run, so I guess they're not. Oh, he's talking about Antiva. Okay. Yes, I don't know how they're run, uh, but I always thought their production was like solid, but maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just so anti PFL production that any other ones I'll be like, oh, that's pretty good. But yeah. So for Antiba, uh, he's probably fight. Oh no, he's fighting. Actually, it's been announced. Who is he fighting? He's fighting somebody. Um, let's see. Let's see. Ozzy Diaz. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, he's fighting Ozzy Diaz. When is that? Do you know? Um, good tough opponent. Yeah, shall see. I'm very high on Antiba. But yeah, decent, good step up in competition. I think his other two previous fights have been against guys that really offered no resistance against him. So maybe Ozzy could uh, put up some more pressure, but still, I don't think he's a great fighter. Um, Steroids and cutting is terrible. Yeah. Which is better, GFL or PFL? Putting me in a spot here. I guess I'll have to say PFL, but I'm not a fan of the PFL. Good tough opponent. Yeah, yeah. What is let's see. Let's see what the PFL is doing right now. What card do they have today? I know they are fighting today. Or they do have a card right now. Who's on it? Anyone of value? Thad Gene and Logan Storley is the main event. Honestly, whatever. And the rest of the card is yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. What can you do? Ozzy fought Piper's. Oh my god, dude, they're trying to kill the guy. Oh man, but good for him for accepting the fights. That's honestly kind of insane. Um, that is insane. Who would you rather have lunch with, Jesse on Fire, Luke Thomas? Jesse on Fire. Luke Thomas is well. I guess Luke Thomas does give some decent insight on certain fights, but yeah. What a savage! Yeah, he is a savage. PFL versus Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors. I think. Well, in fairness, I don't really watch Cage Warriors, so I wouldn't know. But they have some pretty good prospects that come out of Cage Warriors. A lot of these guys turn out to be pretty good, so probably Cage Warriors. Um, but but yeah, but also I know they are pretty popular in Europe, so they're doing their thing over there. Faux show, and and yeah. But what else? What else? What else? Yeah, so that's Span fight. Is that card announced, by the way, UFC Rio, October 11th, or any other fights announced on that card, or is it just literally Volter and Ryan Span? It might honestly just be that one. So we'll see. That's got to be October 11th. Yeah, that's got to be a fight night. Let's see. Let's see. What do we got here? October 11th. Oh, it's not even on here. There. Do you hate Kevin K as much as I do? Yeah, he's a little bit weird out, to be honest. But honestly, like I actually, if you guys notice when I give out fight news or whatever, I do usually put his things up just because honestly, like he posts all the news relatively quickly, and it's all on like on one page, so it's useful. But but yeah, a lot of guys hate Kevin. A lot of guys hate Kevin, and who's the other guy that everyone hates? MMA Joey. Those are the two guys. MMA Joey and Kevin. Um, Name all the Bellator superstars or PFL at this point, I guess. Usman Nurmagomedov. Um, uh, the oh man, it was not good. Well, Francis Ngannou, I would say. Technically, I mean, it's all PFL now. So Francis, um, uh, I know more PFL guys. I'm just kind of blanking here. The Irish guy that fought Usman Nurmagomedov, he's pretty good. I actually wish the UFC signed him. Dakota Decheva, she's a star actually. Um, who else? Who else? Um, how shit is Kevin Lee? Yeah, Kevin Lee's not great. Is Kevin Lee fighting again? Is he in the PFL? Um, what is Kevin Lee doing at this point? I don't know what Kevin Lee's doing. If you become a professional in the MMA, which organization would you want to fight for first? Mm, assuming like before the UFC, probably. Um, I don't know. What is the path? What is the path? I don't know. Maybe it is a PFL. I don't know. Um, it would just have to be honestly probably what it would be, and maybe even what I would want. It's just fight on some sort of regional scene until I get noticed by the UFC, and then maybe at that point take a short notice fight against an opponent or get on the contender series or find my way on that. Obviously, the end goal would definitely be the UFC. Um, but but yeah. Oh, MVP at the time. Oh, you mean at the time of Bellator? Oh, there's more guys than that. Eddie Alvarez was big in Bellator. Michael Chandler was big in Bellator. Yeah, there's some names. MVP as well. Yeah, there's some names. But current guys like in Bellator slash PFL, there's not that many. It's real. Honestly, it's really just Dakota Decheva, Usman Nurmagomedov, and uh, and the Irish guy. I'm just forgetting his name, but he's good. He's good. Um, Toronto, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Did Holloway say he's retiring or something? No, he didn't say he's retiring. He said he's not gonna fight this year. I know a lot of people were thinking that he was gonna fight Charles Oliveira in December or maybe even Dan Hooker, but I guess he's dealing with a hand injury or needs a surgery or injury, whatever it is. But he said he's not going to be fighting, or most likely not going to be fighting for the rest of this year. So any fights between Max Holloway and Charles or whoever else is going to need to wait until next year. I'm assuming he'll fight like early next year, though, maybe January, February, March. Um, but who knows? Who knows when we'll see Max next? I guess the only thing that I would say about that is there's a lot of potential movement at the lightweight division. So if Max does wait a little bit, a lot of these other guys around him could be booked. We could see Armin fighting, I don't know, like Armin fighting Dan Hooker, or we could see Charles Oliveira fight, I don't know, Charles Oliveira fight Gamrot, maybe. Maybe we'd see that. Justin Gaethje might just be retired. Paddy Pimblett may fight for the belt. Who knows? There's a lot of moving parts. So we'll see. Cage Warriors. Cage Warriors would be good. Yeah, it would be good. Paul Hughes. That's the guy's name. Thank you, Pencil Shavings. Yeah, he's good. He was in the UFC, right? Or he wasn't, or he was the UFC was thinking about signing him, or he was in the UFC. I know he had some connection to the UFC, but they decided to move on from him, which is unfortunate. He's like actually a really good fighter. I would like to see him fight Nurmagomedov again. I personally thought he won, but I'd like to see it again. That's probably the most exciting fight in the PFL right now, or that could be made. Well, they can do Holloway Hooker for now. They color that fight. Yeah, but it would have to be next year then. And I don't know if Hooker is going to want to wait that long. I know he's already been out for a little bit of time, and he had to pull out of the Gaethje fight. So I'm sure Hooker's going to want to fight in like November, December time. I think he said November. So I don't know if their timelines would line up, but if he is willing to wait till next year, then they could definitely do that. Clip from the PFL today. What are the PFL posts on Twitter? Let's see. Oh, the guy that quit in the stool? Is this what you're talking about? Or the knee, I guess, before it. Massive knee. Oh, you tagged me in it? Let me see. Let's see. Oh, all right. Could I show this on stream? I'm assuming I can. Let's watch this. Wow. That's pretty late. That's pretty bad. For some reason, yeah, I mean, I could see it. I don't think he deserved it. I could see it. Yeah. And then Hooker Oliveira. Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that. That would be Hooker versus Holloway in November. Because Oliveira's there. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, dude, imagine if they were able to put a fight together of Islam Gadian for the New York. Islam Gadian main event, then Pantoja event as the fight of Ford with an info of like 12 rounds and stickers. I mean, that's how pretty really setting up to be one of the best players of the year. He's the best player of the year. So, that'll be really fun. Get back to this. Dude, what kind of timeline are we on? We're seeing Tony Ferguson, a guy that was supposed to fight to be and was on a ridiculous long win streak, just hiring everyone out, casting everyone out, beating everybody. And now he's fighting a guy named Salt, who's probably going to knock him out. What kind of timeline is this? Honestly exciting. When's that fight? Like September, I think. Absurd. I really wish Tony would just retire, man. Bro, I get it. Like he's making money, and good for him. Happy for him. But audio disconnect. Let me. I'll show you. Let me get this thing working here. Did he tap early? He was tapping in Shinzu. All right, here we go. All right, we'll play it again. Audio disconnected. McGregor could be a great announcer. Yeah, he can be. Yeah, okay. All right, here we go.
You see Dubois constantly dipping into the centre channel. There he is. Good timing on that takedown, but Kelly scrambles through.
Oh, big
now he's hitting the guillotine.
It's tight. He's under the chin. Oh, there's the tap.
He's tapping? Wait, I don't see him tapping. Oh, he was out for a while. Was he tapping? I couldn't see it. They were saying he was tapping.
This fight is over.
That was a bad angle, I guess.
This fight is over.
Herzog reffing. Dude, Herzog is... Dude, I'm going to make a video on Herzog. He's been annoying me, man. Just because... let's do this. 1 second, boys. May reconfigure this stream. But, no, yeah, Herzog's been annoying me just because his stoppages are just so bad, for being honest. They're either too early or too late. There's nothing in between. At one point, Herzog was a really good ref, but at this point, unfortunately, he's just not great. So, yeah, it is. Sorry, I meant to do that. It is Herzog reffing. But anyways, yeah, just to answer your question here, 305, McGregor would be a great octagon announcer. He would be, dude. I said this a bunch, but when he was promoting fights for Bare Knuckle, he honestly appeared to be like such an amazing promoter, and yeah, he would be a good ring announcer. Honestly, it'd be hilarious. But he would have, no question, he has to snort a little bit before he walks out there. It'd be hilarious. It picks up the mic for a second, but it sends them off. Okay. Herzog. Okay. Yeah, my bad for the little audio thing. Hope everything's good now. Fuck, man. My bad, pencil shavings. My bad. Everything's good now, though. Mike's good. I don't know what happened there. Every MMA personality. All right, I won't read that. I won't. But yeah, don't read that. Do you see the next like again? Yeah, I'll throw this on the screen for a second. Yeah, I do. I have seen that. It's fucking hilarious. It's like it's a big scandal over there. It's good entertainment for that, though. I don't know. I know there's a big push for it, but I just don't see it. I don't get how people are actually watching that. But whatever. It's enough about that. MVP versus Anderson Silva. What an interesting fight, man. I mean, I would assume Anderson Silva would win the fight, but I talked about this a lot. MVP on the feet is so weird to figure out. He gives a lot of guys trouble. We've seen so many strikers go up against him, and it's like they just don't know what to do. But Anderson Silva, I would think would win that fight. But yeah, what do you guys think about MVP versus Cannonier? I think it's such a weird fight. But I think Cannonier is gonna win. What a weird one, though, because I just feel like it doesn't really do anything for Cannonier. He's like 41, 42, however old he is. Obviously, he wants to get a title shot at this point, or relatively soon. So him fighting a guy in MVP that's moving up a weight class, it's not really going to push him that much closer to getting a title shot. So it's kind of weird, but we'll see. I think he's going to win. At range, he'll have a lot of trouble. I think everybody has a lot of trouble with MVP at range. But if you can get into the clinch, land big knees and elbows, I think he'll win the fight. But yeah. Oh man. MVP versus Izzy. Izzy, probably Izzy. Difficult style, but I think the leg kicks of Izzy would be a problem for MVP. Probably Izzy. That's a bummer. I was looking forward to Holloway fighting again this year. Bro, this is fucking hilarious. But yeah. Yeah, me too. I really wanted to see Holloway versus Charles in November or December, but I guess we're not going to see it. Well, actually, I don't know. I did want to see Holloway versus Charles, but also I'm a huge Charles fan, and I think Holloway would win that fight. So I don't know. Blessing and a curse, but the fight itself would be really fun. But I would like to see Charles fight somebody that he could beat. I mean, he could beat Charles. He could beat Max, obviously, but I would like them to give him a favorable matchup, like Gamrot or something. Charles versus Gamrot, get a win. Kenny said he has 4 fights left. 4 fights left. On his use of contract. Oh, well, on his contract, yeah. He's just getting old, man. But he looks great. I'm sure he's on great juice. Not to take anything away from him, but he's 42 or however old he is. He's probably on great juice. So we'll see how much longer he can go for. But Cannonier's great. He's a really good fighter. Great on the feet and does good things. Hits really hard, obviously. Does Colby fight again? I think it's like 50-50, honestly. I don't think there's anybody that he can beat actually around him or in the rankings. Let's see. So Colby is number 9 right now. Does he beat Gilbert Burns? I think Burns is washed, but honestly, stylistically, I think it's kind of a tough fight for Colby. Does he beat Jeff Neal? No. Does he beat Prates? Definitely not. Does he beat D-Rod? Maybe he could beat D-Rod. Does he beat Gabriel Bonfim? Probably not. Does he beat MVP? No, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe, actually. Probably. I don't know. And everybody above Colby he doesn't beat. So, I don't know. Does Colby fight again? Just to give you an answer, I'll say no. I'll say no. He usually takes these really long time off periods, so I guess this is not that different. But I just feel like Colby really wants fights that where he's fighting against a big name. But at this point in his career, I just don't think he's going to be able to get that. So based on that, I'll say no, because I don't think Colby's interested in fighting like Carlos Prates or something. Dangerous fight for him, and also the name's not that huge. Sean Strickland versus MVP's most. Yeah, that wouldn't be. Cannonier's such a pro. He takes every fight offered. I love that guy. Yeah, he's great. He's great. And the Imavov stoppage was kind of old, yeah, but he's still right there with Rufy. So honestly, really close fight. I'm assuming Rufy's going to be like a minus 190 range. I'm assuming. I don't think the odds are out yet, but that's kind of what I'm assuming. But I personally think it should be closer than that. I think BSD has a real path to victory here. But as I said, I do lean Rufy. You think Sean Strickland on roids? Probably not. He's probably like one of the guys that are not. I would say the guys who are not are Strickland and Colby. There's probably other examples, but those guys I don't think are. For Strickland, he's just so unathletic, which I guess roids wouldn't play into that necessarily. But he doesn't do anything like extraordinarily well. He doesn't hit hard. He's not athletic. His chin's not insane, which wouldn't lean into roids necessarily. But the only extraordinary thing about him is I guess his cardio is good, but I kind of just feel like he doesn't fight at a pace that will really gas out too many guys, especially considering he's not athletic or doesn't really hit hard. So I'd say probably no. I don't think Colby beats anyone at this point. I agree with you. I really don't think he beats anybody. It's unfortunate. I was a Colby fan, and I guess I still am a Colby fan, but at this point, I do agree. I don't really think he beats anybody. Colby versus Chiesa would actually make sense. Both coaches on the tough fighter. Yeah, I guess that could make sense. I guess you could do that. 2 wash guys, I guess. Yeah, maybe they could do that. Sean Strickland versus MVP. What a weird fight that would be, huh? Strickland versus MVP. Strickland, maybe based on pressure. Pressure, because MVP does his best work when he's at space. So maybe Strickland. Weird fight though. Joshua, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. But yeah, that's a weird fight. Strickland MVP. I kind of hope they don't book that ever, but that's a weird fight. Just fight 70 times in 4 years, and the UFC will sign you. Yeah, I could do that. I could work on it. Yeah, if I just fight 17 times in 4 years and I win the majority of those fights or all of them, I'll get signed by the UFC. And then if I just fight like, I don't know, like 6 times a year in the UFC, I'll make a pretty good salary. I'll make a pretty good salary. But yeah. Dude, Kevin Holland fights so much in the UFC. It is honestly impressive, though, the amount of times he fights, because usually guys are dealing with some sort of an injury going into fights or into camps or even just outside of camp. So the fact that Kevin Holland is always ready, never injured, it seems like, and is able to take 4 or 5, 6 fights a year, whatever it is pretty incredible. So yeah. Okay, let's get real. Sean Strickland versus Rob, 1-2 head kick, Whitaker. These are fucking interesting matchups here. Do I dare? No. I was gonna say, do I dare say Strickland? Just because I feel like Whitaker is not washed, but he's not the same as he was. He's not the same. Because Whitaker has the blitzes, but Strickland is very defensively sound. I'll say Strickland. I don't know. Fuck it, Strickland. Van is just as active as Holland. He is, but on top of that, he's a lot better, obviously, and he's fighting higher level competition. So yeah, Van as well. He's another one of those guys. I mean, how many times has he fought? Dude, he got knocked out by Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson is fighting on UFC Shanghai versus an unranked guy. And Charles Johnson beat Joshua Van. Johnson is still fighting unranked fighters. And for Van, he's fighting for the belt in his next fight. So it kind of just shows you. I'm not saying that Charles Johnson is like ridiculously not inactive, but it just kind of shows how truly active Van is. That after getting knocked out, just less than a year later, he's fighting for the belt. We'll see when they book that fight, but the activity of Joshua Van is honestly insane. And Van is the number one contender already. Yeah, it's honestly just insane how active he's been able to be. Yeah, it's for him, as I said, it's not just activity, but it's also he's good. I mean, you can be as active as you want, but if you're not winning fights, then I guess who really cares? But yeah, Van is very active, and he's also very good. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in that fight. Johnson is definitely ranked material, and say he's barely in the rankings for like one of the else. He's really good. I agree. I think he's good. I'm not saying that he wasn't good when I was saying that he was fighting unranked guys. I do believe he's good. He has solid wrestling, very powerful on the feet, and honestly decent striking. And I think for Loner Kavanaugh, it's a pretty good step up in competition for him. I guess just my point was it kind of just shows you how active Van was. The fact that he was able to fight so many times on back-to-back pay-per-view cards, and he's just really good as well. So yeah, but Johnson's a legit fighter. Strickland versus Romero. Romero. Versus Rolly Romero. I'm kidding. Yeah, probably Romero. Van was popular before the UFC when he fought here. Wow, that's cool. Well, he has a very fun style, so I'm not surprised about that. It's always unfortunate to me, though, that more guys at 125 can't be bigger stars. Because I know a lot of casual fans, or maybe even non-casual fans, don't really think that the flyweight division's all that fun just because they're smaller. They don't usually get finishes. But it's just always so weird to me because these guys are obviously so talented. And when you look at the flyweight division, I actually think there's a lot of really good fighters, but also a lot of really fun fighters. Pantoja is a legend in the making already at this point. I mean, he's already a legend, but he's continuing on his trajectory for more title defenses and more wins over really good competition. And also his fights are really fun. Usually they're finishes, even though he's a flyweight. So he's fun. I think he should be a bigger star than he is. Joshua Van is another guy I think should be a huge star. Brandon Moreno should be. Moreno is, though. And there's some other guys as well. Manel Kopp, I think, is a fun fighter. Steve Erceg, fun fighter. Kai Sakura. There's other guys at this weight class that I think should be bigger names because I think they're really good. But it's unfortunate. The flyweight division doesn't get as much popularity as maybe some other weight classes. Because it's weird. Because if you think about it, like a guy like Tai Tuivasa is probably more popular than a Joshua Van. Is that true? I think that honestly might be true. But it's kind of unfortunate. But yeah, Kavanaugh fighting again. Yeah, Loner Kavanaugh versus Charles Johnson. It's a good fight. Honestly, they're not doing any favors for Charles Johnson. They're giving him a lot of tough fights. But I lean Loner Kavanaugh on that fight. I think Loner is legit. I definitely think he's legit. So I lean with Kavanaugh in that one. Charles Johnson is fine. Yeah, it's insane. It's honestly insane. When did they fight? Was it last year? They fought. I mean, fighting twice for Charles Johnson, since they fought last is honestly like it's not like he's inactive. Um, dude, my computer is bugging out. Chat. Sorry if it's lagging a lot. I apologize. Um, but yeah. So they fought in July of 2024. Yeah, like a year ago. Yeah, so 2 fights for Charles Johnson is not inactive. But the fact that that Van has fought so many times is insane, bro. Honestly insane. Let's close out some of these tabs to avoid some of this lag. I apologize. Imavov versus Luke Rockhold. Who wins that fight? Maybe Imavov, honestly. Maybe Imavov. You gonna do watch along for the fights tomorrow? I wasn't planning on it, but should we do it, chat? I mean, I'm probably not gonna be able to watch the entire card with you boys, but I'll probably have to log off at like 8 or 8:30. So I won't be able to be on for that long, but I guess I could do a little bit of it. Just the unfortunate part would be for the early prelims. But there's some decent fights, so we'll see at that point. Not worth it. Yeah, maybe I won't stream for tomorrow. I will be streaming on Sunday though. For I guess a recap of the card. Kevin Holland versus Darren Till. Darren Till, I'll say. Yeah, not worth it. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. I will see. What time does the card start? It starts at 7, 6. It starts at 6. Stream for 2.5 hours, let's say. Maybe I can push it longer. I might. I'll say I might. Because honestly, I don't know for sure if I have to leave early. So if I'm not doing anything, well, if my plans fall through for tomorrow, I will just stream the entire card. Because as I said, listen, I mean, it's an Apex card, whatever, but there's honestly a lot of good fights on it. So at least fun fights. So I might stream. I'll if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, be sure to follow me. I'll post something on Twitter, and I'll probably also post something on Instagram. To be honest, or Instagram. I mean, on YouTube. To be honest, talking about I will telling you guys if I'm gonna do it or not. So here's my Twitter. If you guys want to follow, sure to follow. I don't post enough. I should post more, but if you want to follow, there you go. MMA_juicy. Why you got all the champs, but I don't know actually. I don't know. What is my thumbnail? That's a good question. It is fun. I don't know. I didn't make it. I didn't make the thumbnail. So I guess I forgot to put on Taporia. Yeah, he did. He did forget to put on Taporia. Yeah, I don't know. Unfortunate. Juicy world welterweight champ soon. Let's go, brother. Coming. We're coming. So back. Yeah. JDM versus Carlos Condit. JDM. But yeah, honestly, now that you say it, MB, I actually really do want to do a watch along for this card. Would you guys be interested? I know the card's not amazing, but whenever any of you guys be interested in a watch party tomorrow, I'll let you guys know for sure whether or not I'm doing it tomorrow. Because I want to do a watch along for the top 3 fights. I mean more as well, but the top 3 fights especially, I think are gonna be fun. Joshua says I'll be there. Let's go. So yeah, honestly, maybe I'll just do it. bucket. Prelim start at 2 a.m. Oh, for you. Yeah, it sucks. Unbelievable. That's real dedication if you're going to watch the prelims of this card at 2 a.m. Oh, man. At what time are you streaming on Sunday? 2 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be streaming on Sunday. What the fuck is my matchup? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Unreal. Unbelievable. But yeah, we'll definitely talk about it. We will definitely talk about it. Let's see. We got any more news that came out here? How are the PFL fights going? Are they fun? I know we saw that weird sequence, but are the PFL fights doing well? Let's see. Green screen background is fake. Yeah, this is not. This is fake as fuck, bro. I'm actually I'm in Guru's studio right now. We put a green screen in the back of a fake room. Is this card actually good? You're kidding me. A lot of finishes actually on the card. Good for the PFL. Good for the PFL. Yeah, it kind of sucks though. There's honestly like nothing coming out in terms of news lately. So we're talking about the PFL. That's kind of where we're at this point. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how the fights go tomorrow. We shall see. I'm just trying to check if there's anything new that I want to talk about. You think Tom Aspinall can beat Derek Lewis and Cyril Gane on the same night? Yeah, I do actually. But I talk about this a lot. I think the toughest, or not the toughest, but maybe, or the most. I'll say this: the guy who has the best chance of beating Tom Aspinall might honestly be Derek Lewis, just because he can land one big shot and that's it. But yeah, I think he could honestly beat them both in the same night. It'll be tough though. Have you seen Justin Fire? I have not. Let's see. Are they funny? Good, bad? Let's see. The files stuff. Unreal. He's escaping. What are these thumbnails from? Well, now I have. Shamil the Blob Gaziev will win against Aspinall. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I agree. Actually, I think that's a given. Honestly, dude. Honestly, for Gaziev, all right. Let's do some matchmaking. I don't think he has a fight book next. So for Gaziev, this is how his career is going to go. He's currently number 11 in the rankings. So let's give him, let's say, Spivak. We'll give him Spivak next. Clear finish for Gaziev or Gaziev, whatever. Then after that, we'll give him, let's say, Volkov, assuming Volkov loses to Almeida. Then Gaziev will put Volkov in a body bag, obviously. And then it'll be Gaziev versus Tom Aspinall. And then Gaziev will utilize that ridiculous length that he has. Beautiful jab, like beautiful jab, right hand, directly on the chin of Tom. Tom goes down. Gaziev, could finish him if he really wants to, but he's like, let's let this go a little bit longer. He lets Tom Aspinall get up, drops Tom again, hurts him badly, then goes for the submission. But right before Tom's about to submit or about to tap, Gaziev lets go of the submission because he wants to dominate him even more. Then he lets him up, knocks him down again, then finds a submission with like 1 second left in the fight. Just a pure domination from Gaziev. That's kind of how I see his career going from here. And then after that, he'll just beat everybody. Honestly, I think if he does that, he'll move down a bunch of times in weight class, being the champ of every division. And then, honestly, in the near-term future, I could honestly see Shamil Gaziev versus Alexandre Pantoja. Don't be surprised. Gaziev might have to cut off like all his limbs, but don't be surprised if we saw that fight. And a no-limbed Gaziev, honestly, could beat Pantoja. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah. Gaziev better cardio than Merab. Yeah. His fight versus Rosenstrike was CGI. So that's a fight that I want to see. Merab versus Gaziev. Yeah, honestly, might be the first guy that tires out Merab. John Jones come back to fight Shamil. That'd be so funny. That'd actually be so funny. Imagine if Gaziev is just beating everyone at heavyweight, becomes a champ in like a ridiculously dominant fashion, and then he's like, all right, I'm going to cut off a leg. I'll move down a weight class. Cut off another leg. I'll move down another weight class. And he's just beating everybody with no arms or legs. And then all of a sudden, John's like, all right, this is getting ridiculous. Let me calm out. I'll beat this guy up. And then and then Gaziev's like, all right, I'm going back up to heavyweight. And then he knocks out John Jones somehow with no limbs. That'd be tremendous. Blob versus Blob. Let's go. Which fighters most like to be on the list? I mean, I would hope nobody, but Connor, but not because Connor's like into like weird. Well, no, maybe Connor just because he's just like partying. He doesn't know what's going on. I don't know. Who knows? Rosenstrike beat the Goat Bands. Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's ridiculous. How the hell you beat Gaziev? Yeah. This is what you're supposed to do. If you're going up against Gaziev or Gaziev, however you say this guy's name, if you go up against him, you either got to get knocked out or just lose by decision. If you dare try to beat this guy, you're gone. I mean, it's fair. It's fair that he was cut. Now, by the way, where is Rosenstrike at this point? He's fighting in like a different organization, I think, right? I don't know if he's fighting MMA anymore. I think he's doing something else. Rosenstrike, lucky Gaziev. 5 minutes before the fight. Let me do this. Yeah. Now he was just getting started. Dude, his him gassing out and whatever round that was all fake. He was putting on a performance. In reality, he just wanted to turn it on in the latter half of the fight. But he just ran out of time. He ran out of rounds. So, what can you do? Gaziev's a real winner. He's still in the UFC, so he's a real winner. Gaziev clearly got eye poked and couldn't continue. Yeah. They just, they just cheated my guy. He got a surgery 5 minutes before the fight. He got eye poked. He ran out of time. It should have been a 10-round fight, for being honest. And that's what Gaziev thought. They told him in the back it was a 10-round fight. So he's like, all right, I'm going to gas out in the first 5, and then the next 5, I'm going to turn it on, find the finish. But, they lied to the kid. So what are you going to do? Rosenstrike is signed to Mike Perry's boxing. Okay. That's not bad. That's not bad. Oh, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Was Rosenstrike caught, or did he lose out of sure? Yeah, honestly, I think it's the latter. Yeah. I mean, he like won the fight, but as I said, it was kind of BS. So I think he was probably scared to death of having to fight that guy again. So he's just like, all right, I'm out. Well, he probably told Dana, like, act like you cut me so it doesn't make me look bad. But in reality, he wanted out. Nate doesn't lose, he just runs out of time. Honestly, for anybody, this is probably true. Just runs out of time. Nate and Gaziev have similar cardios, by the way. But actually, no. Okay. In all seriousness, this is a real question. Who do you think has better cardio, Nate Diaz or Merab? Honestly, I'd probably say Merab, but who do you guys think? It actually both of their cardios are insane. I guess from Rob though, he kind of pushes a higher pace, or definitely does. Than Steve nearly broke the cage. Yeah, happened. I think he broke the cage. They went. Who could he actually fight? 30 passer, Charles Senior, low shake, 3 low blows, 6 30 20. I probably should have. It's fire. Yeah, funny. For glazing Fazeev at this point. Or not Fazeev. Gosh, yeah, Fazeev. Fazeev's the man. Laggy. Oh, the stream's lagging. Fuck. Sorry, chat. Ah, shit. My stream's lagging too. Is anyone in here right now, or is everybody's stream lagging? See you tomorrow. Peace out, man. I apologize for this lag. Fuck. Yeah, because my thing kind of messed up too. How's your guys' streams looking? Is it good, or is it too laggy? I think we might be good now. Yeah, I think it's all right. But anyways, peace out, MB. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks for joining, by the way. Imagine John Jones. Tremendous. I don't think he'll be able to physically go there. But yeah, unbelievable. But chat's good now, right? Or not chat, but stream's good now. Maze, who doesn't know how to fight. 11-9, Dontel. It just seemed like he stopped fighting. Maybe he was worried about the power coming back his way from Gastelum, but it was a weird performance. But I still think Pfeiffer's a good fighter, and I think he finds a big shot. I think the first round of that fight could be really fun. But once we get to the second or third round, if we get there, I think Pfeiffer will be kind of dominating at that point, and I think he'll find a finish. So yes, I do. Who can beat Dominic Cruz? Probably no one. Probably no one. Gaziv KO Budai, who beat Arlovsky, who's a former champ. So Gaziv's the GOAT. Yeah. So Gaziv's essentially the champion right now, if we're being honest. Well, no, he beat the champ Orlovsky, who's a champion a long time ago. So he technically has a ridiculously long reign at this point. He was the champ since Orlovsky was champ back in the day, and he's still champ now. So yeah. He's at a good spot here. He probably is the GOAT, honestly. But yeah. Dude, these fights are honestly hilarious though. He fought Rosenstrike, which is a pretty good step up in competition for him, lost. And then he fought Dontel Mason Peterson. But yeah. Gaziv would be a better champ than John Jones. Well, that's true. That probably is actually true. Because I don't think he would duck Tom Aspinall forever. So yeah. It's probably accurate. Let's see, chat. Let's see. Wow. Do you think this generation of champions are going to be guys that hold the belt for a while, like Tom, Ankalaev, Drickus, JDM, Ilya, Volk, Marab, and Pantoja? Or do you think there's going to be a lot of turnover? I don't know. I think at this point, fighters are so good, there might be a lot of turnover. But we shall see. Put a new poster on the wall. Yeah, we'll do. I got a couple of posters downstairs, UFC posters. They're just too big for my room, though, unfortunately. But Yeah, I probably should put up a new poster. I don't know. What's a good poster? What should I get? These signed posters are really expensive, so I might have to do something else. I'm also huge. UFC posters are huge. Have you ever taken triggers? That's my favorite clip of Yuri. You know, he's like, I took 2 fucking crazy guys from my village to see my fight, and I took them to my hotel, and tonight I will show them something. Oh man, it's so funny. Well, the funniest part about it, honestly, well, it sounds like ridiculous. Obviously, it sounds really sus, but obviously he's not sus. That's why it's funnier. It's actually funnier, in my opinion, knowing like he's obviously not like that. So it's funnier, like based on that. And then when he did his explanation, he didn't clear it up at all, and it still sounded really weird. So I don't know. That's my favorite Yuri moment, and there's been a lot of funny ones, a lot of good ones. Also, I love the Yuri moment when he was trying to block punches by going like this. It was hilarious. But yeah, Yuri's the man. It's cool that Pantoja is running through his weight class. Yeah, he's really like the only guy that's doing it. I mean, listen, there's some other guys. We'll give them more time. We'll see what Marab's able to do. We'll see what I would say Taporia, but he's probably going to move up quick. I guess we'll see what JDM's able to do. Drickus. I think Drickus is one of those guys that can get a lot of title defenses, actually, if he beats Hamzat, which is a big if. But if he beats Hamzat, I really don't see anybody else beating this guy. I know guys are high on Imavov. I think Drickus beats Imavov. I think he beats Imavov. I think he beats RDR. I do think he beats RDR, although it could be kind of a tough fight, but I think he beats him. I think he beats Caio Bahalio. And then everybody below him are not really in title contention at this point. So really the only guys at this point that I think could get a bunch of title defenses are Pantoja, who's already doing it, Marab, Drickus, and Tom Aspinall. I think those are the 4 guys that can get a lot of title defenses. JDM maybe, but yeah, the Islam fight is going to be difficult. But I talked about it. I think JDM could beat Islam, so we'll see. We'll see. But also outside of Islam, I think there's a lot of difficult fights at that weight class. Gaziv signed cup. Should I get a Derek Lewis cup and then get Gaziv to sign it? Or should it actually be Gaziv's? Maybe it should actually be Gaziv's. That'd be hilarious. Tremendous. Tremendous. Gaziv is the GOAT. Yeah. What do we got here? What the fuck was that? Oh man. Dude, that cut's insane, bro. Look at this cut in the PFL. Jesus Christ. It's I know it's very blurry. It's not the stream, it's the picture, but you can kind of see it. That's insane, bro. JDM is gonna get 1 title defense max. Yeah. I can see that. Well, I don't know. If he beats, so he's gonna fight Islam next. So if he beats Islam, then who would fight after that? Maybe let's say Shafkat. Honestly, I don't know if this is popular opinion or not. Probably not. But I think Shafkat is not a bad matchup for JDM. Shafkat is very aggressive. He leaves a lot of openings on the feet, and the guy who's as skilled on the feet as JDM is, I think he can counter Shafkat. Maybe can find a finish even. So I think it's a really close fight, JDM and Shafkat. It's very close to a 50-50, but I think stylistically it's not a bad fight for him. So if he's able to beat Islam, I kind of think he'll beat Shafkat. Could he beat Bilal? Oh, well, he already beat Bilal. I meant to say, could he beat Sean Brady? I do think he could. If he gets taken down, it'll be trouble. But he has shown decent takedown defense, so maybe he could beat him. And on the feet, he has a big advantage over Sean Brady. Could he beat Leon Edwards? Yes, he could. But I don't think Leon's getting another title shot. Could he beat Usman? Yeah, he can. Could he beat Ian Gary? I think Ian Gary might be a tough fight for JDM. Because listen, I'm not the biggest fan of Ian Gary either, and I know a lot of guys aren't, but he does something like really, really well out there. He kind of neutralizes his opponent's best weapons. He does it all the time. We saw it against Shafkat. We saw it against a bunch of other guys where going into a fight, he's going to be very defensively sound. He's going to utilize a lot of range, make it very difficult for you to hit him. Utilizes a lot of leg kicks, body kicks, head kicks, and he's not super active with his shots that he throws, but he's just very defensively sound, very difficult to hit, and he takes something away from you. And I think that's actually a huge reason for why we saw his fight between him and Shafkat be so close, or as close as it was. He just does a really good job at that. So I think against JDM, he actually might give JDM some trouble, just because JDM kind of does a good job at getting in range and putting punches together in combination, but maybe Ian will be able to stay away from that. So I don't know. We'll see. I think everybody can get the belt at welterweight. I think the belt is going to get passed around. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good fighters. I mean, guys that could get the belt. Obviously, JDM already has it. Islam could get it. I wouldn't be surprised. He's a great fighter. Sean Brady could. I would be surprised if Sean Brady got it, to be honest. But he's good enough to potentially get a belt. Shafkat, I definitely wouldn't be surprised if he got it. Ian Gary, would you guys be shocked if Ian Gary was the champion? It would be unfortunate because he kind of fights boring, but I don't know. He honestly might be. Michael Morales, I think, could definitely be champion. That's actually my prediction. I think Michael Morales will become a champion at some point. And Carlos Prates, probably not. I don't think he'll be a champion. But yeah, there's a lot of guys at welterweight that I could think could that I think could be champs. Would GSP be good champs in today's welterweight division? Yeah. Yeah, I think so, probably. Or I don't want to say probably, decent chance. I think he could. Could he take down JDM? I think probably. Yeah. For the most part, when you talk about guys from a previous generation compared to guys now, usually the guys now are going to be better. But there are certain examples, obviously, of that not being true. And GSP, I think, is one of those examples. But yeah. But yeah, for the most part, I mean, when you look at the level of competition like 5 years ago or 10 years ago, maybe 5's not the best example, but let's say 10 years ago, it's obviously a lot higher at this point. A lot of these guys are really good, and they've done a pretty good job, most of these guys in most of these divisions. Obviously, the heavyweight division is like in the 1940s, essentially at this point. They're so behind. Outside of Tom Aspinall and maybe Cyril Gane and maybe Volkov. But outside of that, most of these weight classes have done a good job at just being very well-rounded for the most part, in terms of their champions as well as a lot of their top contenders. So it's definitely pretty fun, or pretty high level. Very, very skilled, I guess I should say, and also very fun. But yeah. Usman versus Bilal. I know my boy Kid Lowe's not gonna be happy with me, but I kind of lean Usman. I really do. Just because Bilal's a good fighter. His boxing looked pretty good actually against JDM. He was a step behind JDM, but he was on par. But I don't know. I just feel like if he's stuck on the feet versus Usman, I know his striking didn't look great in his last fight. Usman didn't, but I feel like the jab right hand might be a decent weapon for him. And and he also has a significant power edge over Bilal. So I think he'll be willing to be a little bit more aggressive on the feet. I don't know. I lean Usman a little bit. I think the wrestling will cancel out. It'll be on the feet. Bilal's probably more skilled on the feet than Usman is, but Usman has a lot more power. And he's good with his 1-2s. Stipe versus Kane. Stipe. What do you think happened in the Usman Bilal interview? I don't know. I think they said it. I actually didn't see it, but I think Bilal actually talked about it. But I don't remember what he said. What did he say, Chad? He was like, I don't know. I think Usman just said you have to respect me or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, I know they have beef at this point. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? Where's Taporia? I don't know. Well, I mean, he didn't fight that long ago. He fought at 317, which was when? When was 317? June 28th. So a little bit over a month ago. I'm assuming he said he wants to fight in November, December. So I'm assuming he's probably going to fight then. Who's he going to fight? I have no idea. I kind of feel like the UFC needs to get on it, unless they're just going to give someone an immediate title shot. But if they want like a Gaethje or Patty or a Patty and Arman to fight as a number one contender fight, they kind of got to get on it because they're not going to have that much time to have that fight and then fight Taporia in December. So I don't know. But I know Taporia said he wants to fight in November, December time. So maybe we see him then. How many 10-8s will Ilya have against Calvin Kattar? I think he finds him, honestly. I think he finishes him. But how many 10-8s? Maybe the first round. Honestly, I don't know. I think he just finishes him, to be honest. I think he just, cuts off the cage, lands jabs, lands right hands, puts punches together in combination, and maybe Calvin will be able to eat like one, maybe two. But at this point, it seems like his chin's not even the same as it was. If you watch Calvin's last fight, he got hurt a couple times actually. So yeah, he's durable for sure, but it's not the same as it was at a certain point. And also Taporia's power is really nothing that he's seen. You want to say Josh Emmett, okay, but Taporia is able to put punches together in combination a lot better and land a lot cleaner than Josh Emmett can. Josh is kind of just an overhand right and an occasional left hook. So maybe like 1-10-8 possibly, but I think he honestly just finds a finish, maybe in the first round. Bilal said beat him up. Bilal said he beat him up. Okay. Wait, Bilal said he beat him up. Bilal beat up Usman in the interview. Hilarious. But yeah, I would really like to see the fight though. It makes sense. Both former champs have the beef. Go at it. Put them together. Put the fight together. But yeah. But any shoe. If you guys have any last second questions, be sure to let me know in chat. But if not, I think I might cut off the stream. We've been streaming for like 2 hours and 15 minutes at this point. It's been great. Honestly, a great stream. So thanks everybody for being here. And yeah, for tomorrow, I may or may not be live streaming or doing a watch along. I'll let you guys know. So follow me on Twitter or X, and also on YouTube in the post feature. I'll let you guys know if I'm going to stream. So be on the lookout for that. I hope you guys enjoy the stream, and until next time, peace out, boys. See you later, Josh.